municipalities that we represent. So as a reminder, Eau Claire, County Union, County Wheaton, Altoona, and Osseo. And to be a partner of ours is completely free, no cost to the businesses in our communities. What that gets you is a free listing on our site, which I will show you guys what that looks like in the next slide. But what it includes is your business name, business address, any social media platforms that you want to link out to, photos and videos of your business, a business description. If you're a restaurant, you could link your menu or a brochure, and it gets you access into the blogs and all the content that we build out on the website. It gets you features into our weekly and bi-monthly and quarterly newsletters. We have a leisure one, we have a sports one, a meetings one, and then one that categorizes into those 4 interests that Kenzie said. So family, culinary, arts and culture, outdoor recreation. And you kind of get access to pretty much everything that Visit Eau Claire does because we communicate to you through our CRM. So this is what an example of a listing. I pulled the Oxbow Hotel. So you'll see, because it's a hotel, there is a booking widget that's included in there, but for a regular restaurant, that wouldn't be included. But there's a visit website link. So when Kenzie was talking about partner referrals, when someone clicks on that visit website link, that's considered, okay, so we just referred someone to Mona Lisa's from our site. So last year we drove over 200,000 of those to community businesses. And pictures, we could do videos as well. You can cycle through them. Social media links, business description. This map is fed through a Google API feed. So if someone landed on this, they could immediately go to your Google My Business listing and be led to your restaurant if you're traveling. Hotels have amenities, so if they're pet friendly, if they have a hair dryer, stuff like that, that's included. For meeting facilities, that's for our salespeople to show, hey, this hotel has a meeting space. This is great for the event that you're looking to host. And then here, I mentioned that the social media links are linked up here, but this also can feed your business's active feed. So we could link to your Facebook account, anything that you're posting. Let's say buy one, get one wing special, it would pop up here. There's also an events drop down. So if you're hosting any events, that would pop up as well, as long as they're added to our event calendar, which we have a partnership with Volume 1. Anything that gets added to Volume 1's calendar is also featured on our event calendar. So it's really easy for community members to share what's going on. Best practices in order to how to keep these updated. We would love to have someone on our team who's constantly managing this, but it's just not realistic for us at this point. So it's just a matter of having business owners reach out to us and say, hey, I need help updating my listing. Or if you're someone who's like, I'd rather do it myself, there is capability for us to give you access to do it yourself through our extranet as well. But best practices, making sure that you have nice, clear photos, and you're constantly updating. Let's say your hours changed, make sure that that's correct in the business description. We've had a few times where people are like, this wasn't right on your website, so we try to amend those things as best as we can. And incorporating relevant keywords. We're, like Kenzie mentioned, we do a lot of Google advertising, and search engine optimization is a huge initiative of ours. So making sure that when people are looking for the best places to get wings in Eau Claire, you guys are ranking for that kind of stuff. If you need help updating your listing, I do have my business card with my email that I could pass out if you guys have any questions, but it's as simple as sending an email to marketing@visiteuclaire.com. Someone from our team will be able to help you. And this is just like a really simple checklist of how to get involved with Visit Eau Claire. The first being joining our partnership newsletter. We try to send this out bi-weekly, sometimes monthly, but it really gives you guys a snapshot of, hey, these are some of the grants that we saw that we think businesses could take advantage of, or anything that we might want to share out with our community partners. Set up your free partnership listing. So that's what I could show with Oxbow Hotel. If your business doesn't have one, let's get one set up for you. It's free. And then add your events to our community calendars. There's a lot of great things going on in the city, and we'd love to keep promoting it. And then marketing at Visit Eau Claire on there, just in case you want to just check. I just talked about a very brief summary of everything Visit Eau Claire does at no cost. We do have a media kit that is, hey, I have a marketing budget. I would like to do some more with you guys. We have some paid opportunities. Like Kenzie said, she'll send out this slide deck, but this QR code takes you to a digital version of it, and you can browse through what is offered. And I'm probably the best contact to get in contact with if you guys are interested in doing anything with us. But then we could just take it from there and see what we can set up for you.
Yeah, so then back over to me. I know you guys have a lot on your agenda, and but I just kind of wanted to open it up to all of you of like, what are your key initiatives, and how, now that you know a little bit more about Visit Eau Claire, like how can we help? And if that discussion comes later, that's okay too, but just kind of wanted to put that out there. We're here to help, and let us know how we can help your businesses.
Anybody got any questions?
I would say if you're working on new events for this year, and I've heard rumors that there might be some events on Water Street that are new, definitely take advantage of the grant programs and the listings and all the free stuff at least. And I've worked in radio and TV in this town, both sides of it. And I think the Visit Eau Claire, what they offer for marketing is really, really cost effective. I'm not, I like traditional media, but this digital stuff is here to stay. So,
I just wanted to kind of just piggyback a little bit on this presentation. So Jackie met with Visit Eau Claire earlier this week, and then Demi attended our marketing meeting and actually had another one today with Graham Barnes, who's been contracted to work for Jackie in marketing areas. I got an update. It was a really successful meeting, I heard. So just to keep your make sure you guys are aware that we are looking to, kind of work hand in hand with Visit Eau Claire on this part that Demi just presented to you, so that we're not replicating services, but that we're enhancing kind of individually. And so all that she walked you through seems like a lot, but Jackie will be reaching out to downtown businesses with kind of a cheat sheet and a guide of how to make sure that your marketing is best represented through Visit Eau Claire, and we're going to use that information too. So more is coming on that as we finalize kind of how that looks, but know that we'll be very actively working together to make sure they're getting the marketing out in the big way, and that we're focusing, locally on those same initiatives. So we're hoping to support you, making sure that you get the most out of what you guys offer there. So great work, guys. Those numbers are really impressive.
I will also say that reminded me that I mentioned that we have a strong partnership with Travel Wisconsin, but also our team does go in and add listings to travelwisconsin.com as well. So if you are not listed, your business isn't listed on there, let us know. We'd be happy to take care of that for you and make sure that that gets listed on Travel Wisconsin.
are we ready to talk sculpture tour? I'll be brief, I promise. I did bring printed copies. I'm more high touch than high tech, I guess. We've talked about sculpture tour before. We are the largest in the country right now by a significant amount of sculptures. And we plan to keep that determination, I guess. Because it's really easy to promote. It's easy to say, hey, we're the largest in the country. Why don't you come here and check this out if you're looking for art? And it dovetails so nicely with the potlow and everything else that we have going on art-wise in town. So when I came to talk to you before, I was asking for support from the Water Street Bid Board. And John, you pointed out that I hadn't brought a proposal and asked for something specific. So I did that this time. And I'll say it's a suggestion, it's a starting point. We can go up or down or wherever, but ideally we would love to have the Water Street Bid District support 3 pedestals on Water Street. And we have 6 down here now, but if you'd support 3 of them, that would cover our hard costs in leasing those sculptures. And what that would look like is obviously signage on the pedestal, your logo on all of our signage and all of our printed materials, our website, sculpturetour.org, and Visit Eau Claire website. And most importantly, invitations to our artist reception. We will be, installing the new art on May 16th. So we'll be taking down art the third week in April. We'll meet with some other cities and trade art the first part of May and install on a Thursday and have our artist reception that night. So it's always fun to have stuff going on that weekend so people can go around and check out all the new sculptures and things like that. There's a couple ways to look at the sponsorship. If you do a 3-year commitment with us, you don't have to listen to me every year. I'll just check in and say everything's going good. A 3-year commitment would be $6,000 billed at $2,000 a year. If you prefer to do a short-term 1-year commitment, for 3 sponsorships, we would be asking for $7,500.
6,000 per year for the 3 sculptures. 7,500 for 1 year or 6,000 for 3
Correct.
years.
Not 2,000 a year.
Not $2,000 a year. Oh,
So I'm just gonna throw this out there for what you're asking for,
okay.
because while I do agree that it's something very beneficial and we should support, that's 50% of our budget.
Okay.
So the hard ask, and that's half the money that we have.
Okay.
And well, we do also have a lot of reserves right now. We have a lot of ideas and a lot of things. The main thing that we have to figure out right now is a lot of the structure of our organization, how to kind of spend that money. And I have a hard time allocating 50% of an annual budget to one program.
That's fair.
So I'm just saying it's a big ask, but I also agree that it's something that we should support
Okay.
in whatever way that we possibly can. I think that it's very beneficial to have these sculptures down here, and we should figure out a way to make that work.
Thank you.
And whether that means us put the money and try to get a fundraising campaign going together, but I don't think that it's appropriate to spend half of our money on one thing.
Well, and I'll be, no, I totally get that. And I'll be real frank. It's been years since we've worked with the Water Street Grid Board on something, so we would be delighted to get any support from you that you feel you can.
In long term, we have a lot of bigger grandiose ideas of expanding the bid, increasing the budget substantially, and then getting to a point where $6,000 a year for sculptures makes sense.
It's helpful.
But until the bid expands and until we get some of our internal structural operational processes figured out, we can't really expand, we can't really increase the budget, we can't go out and kind of ask for more money.
Okay.
So just prove it.
Okay. Well, our pedestals are already down here and we don't plan to take them off of Water Street this year. So, I mean, you're pretty much going to get our support either way, one way or the other. So whatever you can do to support us back is appreciated. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
We'd want to support you. I'd love to be able to write you a check for $7,500 right now.
I'd like that too.
I will just also say that it's on the sculpture tour thing, just so Julie has it message, like we're break even, so we have to get sponsorship in order to get these sculptures, and our hard cost just for one sculpture, and that's not the pedestal or anything, is $1,000 every year. So we may, if we don't get the funding, we do have to cut back on the amount of sculptures that we have here. So I just want to be really clear in that messaging, like, if we don't get it through other business sponsorships, we do have to look at cutting back on the number of sculptures in the region.
And I guess maybe that's something that this board, this organization could help more with, is trying to help generate sponsorship from
That would be incredible.
businesses on Water Street
That would
that
be
want
incredible.
to sponsor them and help kind of like pass that on so that hopefully we can get some of our local businesses to.
We used to have 3 or 4
Yeah.
sponsors down here and
We do have
COVID
BMO.
changed everything.
We have
Right.
BMO now.
BMO has,
Yeah.
yeah, BMO and Herberts and Gerberts have been consistent. We realized COVID changed a lot of things. In fact, COVID is when I became part of Visit EauClaire because the program is going under. Visit EauClaire said, we can't let that happen. Another thing that we've done to support the program is releasing sculptures to other communities. There's 7 other communities that we lease sculptures to and trade out sculptures for them every year. So we do that to make ourselves sustainable.
Mhm.
We try to anyway, so.
Where demographically, where do those other towns are they located, and how many total pedestals are there for? Or do your Bayfield, or is it Illinois?
Redmond, Minnesota, Menominee, Osseo, Altoona, Waupun is our farthest one away. From Oregon, which is a suburb of Madison.
Total pedestals in Claire?
Total number of
Yeah.
pedestals,
120, I believe.
yeah, right around 120.
Is that including Altoona too, or is that just Eau
No,
Claire?
Eau Claire.
Okay, cool.
Altoona has another, they've got quite a few of their own,
Yeah.
30,
I was gonna say it has to be 30.
yeah.
What's the sculpture tour's total budget? Now,
Oh, yeah, it's over 150,000 for the year.
120 times 2.
but some of them are permanent sculptures. So
True. Yeah. We've got
can't really
about
do the math that way just because some of them we're not paying for,
it's like a stipend. We pay $1,000 stipend to all the new ones that rotate in and out. But the existing, the permanent ones, like,
The high five dog.
High Five Dog, for instance, yeah, or the
that's counted as
Salmon
part of
and
the
the Bear.
120. The people's choice that stay here.
Then to John's question, is there a hard line for the budget for the sculpture tour, or is it fluid every year?
That's where if we can't cover the stipend, we have to go less as far as how many sculptures we bring in.
We're cutting back from 2024 to 25, we're cutting back by 18 sculptures. The dinosaurs will be going away in March, and 4 other sites will be gone. Just
How do
to,
you pick those sites, based on traffic or based on social media, or?
We're talking about traffic mostly.
yeah, mostly traffic.
I'll ask the hard question. If we do get on board some capacity or another, can the board pick what sculptures are down here? Or is it random?
It's not random, but it's a giant Jenga puzzle. I have 120 pedestals that are all different sizes, and I have 120 sculptures to fit on them. And it takes us about 3 months to figure out what goes where. There's some flexibility, a sculpture maybe could fit on 6 different pedestals. So certainly, I know we very purposely brought back the Gremlin, which won People's Choice and is a permanent sculpture that's in front of Burger King Burger's right now. And it was so popular on Water Street that we wanted to bring that one back down here.
Also, one thing that we're working on as sculpture tour is new pedestals in certain areas. Some pedestals are a lot better than other pedestals, so that's also what we're trying to seek funding for through grants and business partnerships is
Some new
new
pedestals.
pedestals.
We have some concrete ones that are pretty beat up looking. One of the cities that we lease sculptures to is Red Wing, and if you go down there and look at their sculpture tour, you'll come back and go, oh my God, we gotta start from scratch and redo it, because they just do such a beautiful job. All their pedestals are granite, all their signage is phenomenal. They just do a beautiful job. And you can see every one of our pedestals is different. Like I said, all of theirs are the same. It looks like a program, where ours looks like sculptures exploded, which is kind of fun, but it would be nice to upgrade, being that we're the largest in the country, we have to act like it a little bit too. And be classy.
Well, thank you for coming. Is there any other?
I have one more question. Not to visit Eau Claire or to sculptures, but to visit Billy. And from city perspective, for spending $7,500 on sculptures with the sculpture tour, would we have to send out an RFP and get 2 other verbal commitments from other organizations and say that we want to spend $7,500, but 5 sculptures on Water Street? And we have to get commitments from 2 other organizations that say.
The other big ones.
So this would be like a sponsorship, kind of a sole proprietor, because they already have all the
stands, all the stuff. I don't know that anybody else does sculpture tours in Eau Claire. So, yeah. The other big boards don't
But
have to do that.
Like I said, this is not a question to you.
Yeah,
My
okay,
question
sorry.
is, it has nothing to do with that. My question is, I get it, you don't understand that anybody else can do that. But what's the difference between providing 5 sculptures and doing anything else we want to do and still having to go out and send out an RFP and submit that there is no other organization that can do this?
If there are other stuff that you're going out to get quotes or bids on, and there's nobody else that does it, it would be considered like sole proprietor
So
also.
we still have to get it done.
You wouldn't be able to, so no. If there's nobody else that does it, there's nobody else you can get quotes from. So there is, in the materials we sent out, sole proprietor was one of the things that was talked about when there isn't anybody else who can do the work.
As that relates to garbage, just quick.
How do you prove that there's nobody else who can do the work? What if there is another organization that we don't know about in this room that can put 5 sculptures on Water Street for $2,000?
It's
We don't
a
know about-
sponsorship, so it is something that can't happen without getting other bids.
So sponsorship, we don't have to get other bids
You wouldn't have to get other bids for this, no,
for this.
if you want to do this.
This is okay.
But other
Just
sponsorships, but other sponsorships, you do?
Right.
It depends on what it's for and everything. I don't want to,
3.
yeah,
agenda
um,
items.
so I don't want to give just a blanket answer that applies to everything. In this case, you would not need to get quotes if you were going to do it, but my
How do we
understanding
know
is you're
when
not
we need to
going
get
to.
close when we don't?
I can advise you on that.
Why? Well, what qualifies you to advise?
Because I mean, I can understand what a sponsorship, a sole proprietor is. I think a sole proprietor is going to be very rare. Because it's not often there's just one business that does something. But it is something that can happen. But we can talk about that more if we have
for that?
this on the agenda,
Yeah.
and stick to sculpture tour now.
Sorry to steal sculpture tour for a second, but it does tie into what we're about to talk about.
Well, we'll definitely talk to some of the businesses down here, and maybe see if we can get, instead of maybe the Water Street, or get individual businesses from Water Street to sponsor, like BMO.
Yeah, BMO is, has a 3-year, does the 3-year commitment with us. We use it all. I know the dentist around the corner used to be a sponsor years ago. That Gessendorf, no.
I can definitely foresee a scenario where we can find a group of businesses that want to come together to put up $6,000 to get their logos, whether it's the Water Creek Bid logo or business logos. And I think that if we can get several businesses within the bid to kind of pool together, then we can definitely help them closer to that.
That'd be really awesome.
That'd be incredible, and we can get creative on how that exposure looks, whether it's, like you said, individual businesses, like it doesn't fit into a box, like we can get creative on how we make sure that those businesses get the exposure that they should get.
Thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. The sculptures do look great down here, and you guys point like I
Be
do
careful.
think that they've been very well placed, like the Mona Lisa one over here, you look at it one way. And it has Mona on it, you look at it the other way, like it's very fitting.
I know, I love that.
Here, so,
We negotiated hard to get that one. Because we thought we should.
yeah, it's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll definitely get back to you.
Thank you. Do you want me to follow up with somebody?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Did you hear Jed's question? Is there a deadline if somebody wanted to participate?
Your fiscal year, I mean, is there, you make decisions at the end of June for next year's cuts or ends? When do you need to know that?
Would mid-February work?
We got one more meeting, right?
So we got another week for that.
Worst case, mid-March, so we can go on the docket and we can do the agenda properly.
Okay,
Okay,
okay. Yep,
thank you.
thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone. Nice to meet you.
And then also in general. We have an idea.
Fifty dollars.
Well, you're gonna twist my arm.
I have a question. I don't see you guys on the agenda.
Interesting.
Are you, so,
They're rock stars, they don't have to do
We can push announcements up and call you guys announcements.
You can't,
Huh?
you can't.
you can't ask somebody why they're here?
You can ask them why they're here, but they can't do a presentation for announcements.
They can't tell us why they're here?
It's,
Tell us why
it's,
you're here.
it's not an announcement. We need to stick with the agenda.
Well, I make a
Well-
motion
John's the president.
that we take
Okay,
a break
but-
on the agenda for a moment.
The agenda has to be publicly noticed, and that's what has to be discussed in these meetings.
We have no comments on our public meeting.
But you have what? I'm
Why
sorry.
don't we have public comments on our publicly noticed meeting?
We put out the agenda you wanted, but the public can make comments if they want to on agenda items. But if you want a blanket public comment period, we can put that on the agenda.
Every single meeting, everyone I've ever filled, I guess I only send you those two things that went on here, but I just assumed that every public meeting has a public comment session. I've never been to one that doesn't.
For other, what happened to our other business?
We sent out what we're given, and we communicated back about the sculpture tour and Visit Eau Claire because that was on previous ones that got bumped.
I think that it's possible that the situation with Sandy has caused a lapse in getting it on the agenda. Would that be fair to say? We've had some really things going on that are understandable. We introduced ourselves at the beginning. If we're not on the agenda and that means that we can't speak today, we're fine to abide by that rule. We would love to come back and do that another time.
We'd love to have you.
We'd love to have you. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
Great.
And on behalf of the Water Street Bid, I would apologize for us not being able to listen to you tonight, because I want
Yeah.
to hear what you have.
Before we go,
I'm just gonna do this.
Can we put them on the next agenda or does that take a active,
No, I think as long as you send her that on the agenda, she, yeah, right? Just before.
for the? Well, I apologize for updating.
I
got one.
ran out.
thank you.
I bet I have.
You got mine?
Oh, good. I wanted to. Perfect. Thank you.
Did you want this one as well?
Yep, I got one. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah, 'cause we're gonna talk about the next two things are one thing.
Okay. Yeah, it's actually
No action.
Okay, yeah, fair enough, thank you.
You're just getting more space, Jen. I think I mentioned it, there's nothing against you, I'm just gonna.
And how-
Sorry.
Start leaving.
See you soon.
Stay soon.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is trash action required. So we have to trash.
You have 6 and 11.
Yeah.
You're good.
Am I officially up,
Oh,
Billy, or am I appointed? I
you're
think I'm
not,
not appointed till
Nope.
next week.
you can count for a quorum, you just can't vote, right?
I'm okay with that.
We don't have anything
This would, I think, be the only thing you're voting on.
trash.
Did we go on the track?
Yeah.
It's
she
just that-
Five.
Yeah, he can't vote. So appointments had a,
Stay with one.
yeah, meeting yesterday. So your name has been submitted. It is gonna go forward to council. At that point, you can vote. Technically, you're filling Kim Way's position, so you're, I mean, you can count for quorum, she said. So I think at this point, since you have quorum with Jake and Shirley's okay with it, you should probably not push this to the next meeting.
For the best interest of the public.
Did it?
Let's do it.
I think we should. Public trash, no, garbage service.
So do you need to,
What do we need to vote on for the trash? Because we need the RFP to get the trash. There's only one.
Nor,
What do we need to vote on?
You just need to vote on, doing an agreement with Earthbound. So we did get 3 quotes, one from Earthbound and then 2 other trash services told us they would not be able to pick up the individual trashes. So that fulfills the quote requirements. Earthbound total is $6,155.24 for the year. They just do 1 pickup a week down here. Some of the others, they do 2 in the summer, but this is just for 1 pickup a week.
what was the last?
What are we doing?
60 something, I think it was 4 much.
$6,155.24.
so garbage service, it did increase, it's $7 a can for garbage, and that went up, I believe it was like 6 something, so maybe it was 5 something, I don't know exactly, but it did go up. Part of that is, licensing fees are going up for trash haulers, so across the board, garbage service, has increased cost for this year. But the $7 a can is what you're looking at once a week pickup.
How many?
You should, in your financials, it would show what you. Did you guys do financials today?
We have
They're
16,
not on here.
we have 16 or 17 cans down here at $7 a week, 52 weeks, $6,000.
That's what it is. And, so service started January 3rd.
$6,000, 52. That's 65. So.
It's 19 containers at $6.23 each. $118.37 a week.
This is another one of these discussions where this is half our budget.
Do we think we need,
What, like, what do we need? Do we need?
I pick up mine.
do we need every week?
You have to, by the ordinance of the city, have collection, every week.
Do we need to have garbage cans?
Probably not 37 of them. One in the corner. What happens a lot of the time is
Right,
kind
as you said, Nikki.
This is
It's
for 19 containers.
I would just worry a little bit. I mean, you guys obviously could reduce, but I worry being on Water Street, you probably will have garbage pile up without cans even more than you already see. But
Yeah,
I'm
because
just,
the cans are usually actually pretty full at the
Right.
end of the week, like especially the one on my corner on Sixth is usually overflowing and actually not picked up most of the time, so.
And I agree 100%. Students and bar closed, we need garbage out here. We need somewhere to put the garbage.
you want
But historically, we have not spent half our budget on garbage. Or-
to, just throwing this out there because I have too much time on my hands with all my security cameras. It's usually tenants that, there's my tenants or your tenant.
Whoever it is.
garbage in the public hand.
Oh, yeah, I see from your building on, like that we
It's
should
just
talk
a
about,
hint.
they always.
Yeah.
I feel like we should.
Take a big garbage?
Yeah.
But then you-
From 19 to 10 and spend $3,000.
I will say this, if they're not there, they will walk into the proper spot.
Right.
If the cans weren't there, like in the corner of Fourth and Water, they would come out of my building,
Right.
yours and go, oh shit, I have to walk an extra 30 feet.
Can
You
we,
guys have restaurants and coffee shops. I'm sorry, I'm just really,
I get that we
thinking
got,
that
I get that when you
gotta
got
have some cans.
half our money.
Maybe we need to
According to the other half.
redistribute the cans.
Yeah, that would be coordination with street to move them.
Well, we could move them.
Are they bolted? Or are they not?
We have both of them.
I love you, Jim. Go up there. So, as Billy mentioned, that there is no other company in the service that can do the cans in the downtown because they're manually serviced. The way to switch away from that, if you did want to switch companies like GFL or something, you would need to do one of 2 things. You'd either need to get a dumpster and then have someone that contracts to like go pick them and put them in the dumpster. They'll take the dumpster away. Or you'd have to switch to the cans that can be picked with the automatic arms. So the plastic cans you have at home. Which,
Probably.
well, they're not bolted to the ground and they could end up lots of places. But that would be the option. So GFL said they could provide a quote if you guys switched over to cans that can be automatically serviced. But of course you can reduce the amount of cans too. I mean, option.
Well, it's back in the work. Half the budget seems steep. Next step would be if we were to reduce and go 6 months on the road, shit, that didn't work. Cause now there's garbage everywhere. We can always bring the can back, right? You know, that-
Scary.
Yeah.
Nobody can do it then.
Yeah.
It's not a.
No,
What
no,
do we spend on garbage?
How
on?
much are you putting into reserves every year? I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just thinking that
Right.
maybe this year you pull from reserves for this project as you explore other options for next year. Especially with Sonotag being here, I just really worry what a garbage buildup.
That's the only way we can. get
And
rid
I
of
would
people.
add that it would take time for streets to come out and remove or move any of them. So they're, with it being in the right of way and stuff,
Yeah, if we have to move. we'll-
so somebody's going to need to pick them up. So, if you do want to reduce them, you would probably want to pay the full amount until that's figured out.
Well, we gotta do something.
how many
We
cans?
gotta do something, and I agree with what Aaron is saying. I think the best answer is probably to pull into reserves and to pay for this. I think that reducing the garbage cans also, the number of cans makes sense. If that means going out and getting another quote, by the way, we have to get garbage picked up, but sustainably, we can't afford $6,000 a year of a budget of $15,000 every year going forward.
And it's, we're not gonna go down.
That drops our budget to $9,000, and we spent $5,000 of that on, we spent like $5,000 of that on the radio ads, we have $1,000 left. We're gonna meet once a month, but let's do about $1,000.
If we stick front side focus, what if
So
we pull cans from the VFW side of things, those houses down there where the trash is, well, I mean, south of your building?
Yeah, the last one that I know of is that, cause doesn't the bid end at?
7, the VFW.
14. We
Is
need
it before
14
Joel?
cans, one on either side, one per block on either side of the street. I think that's a little bit out of the $6,000, but not much.
No, and what's gonna happen, I'm guessing the garbage company's gonna say, no, it's not working. They're not coming down with the $2,000.
Earthbound Service is the other, 3 bid. And so it's kind of, their downtown route is on the same day. I had like lengthy discussions with them about, because they're the only company that can do it because of the manual. And they even mentioned next year if the city would take garbage service in-house, as has been kind of talked about, that they are potentially still looking at maybe keeping a truck in with license one if the bids would continue to work with them for that reason. So, yeah, so the other 3 bids have all approved them at this point as their service provider.
Yeah, the other thing is, the city is looking at doing something with the garbage service for the whole city, aren't they?
Yeah, it's one of the things that's been mentioned in the manager's update is potentially looking at bringing it in-house.
The city of Eau Claire.
Not necessarily. There'll be
They
a
would
bunch of
contract.
public meetings, there'll
Yeah.
be meetings. There's multiple options that can happen. There haven't been any decisions
Yeah,
made.
it's just a topic that they will be talking about.
Well, no matter what they do, the city's gonna make it more expensive. You know,
What is
they
it?
get their fingers shot of that. It's gonna get higher. I guess right now we probably got no choice but to approve it because we got the can. And moving forward, we should look at.
I have a hard time allocating 50% of the business improvement district budget for what the purpose of the bid is. I'm not saying we absolutely need the garbage pickup, but we have a $15,000 budget. What is our purpose if we're just here once a month, spend half our money, garbage pickup, like,
But the water,
you gotta make, I get that we need it,
at one time,
we're forced.
we did not have garbage cans. There was no garbage cans on Orange. And people brought the garbage to the, you know. So, I don't know if you can't walk out of a bar with a plastic cup. You know, so you can't.
You're not supposed to.
That's what's speed
Jen
meter.
Jen might know about that.
I mean, Jed, you see a lot of people walking out with drinks.
Respectfully speaking, nobody's perfect. I've seen it all, just like everybody in this room has, but my team does perimeter on a nightly basis, and they know to pick it up. So if Fourth and Walnut didn't have a corner, it'd give my team more to do. Is it worth saving the $28? I mean, no, we can pull the cans, you know. And just started, but I'm looking at this map, did they bid out and tell us where the garbage cans were? Because they're not picking up walkway, like river trail garbage cans, are they? Or are they just
They
doing,
should be just picking up the ones that you guys have placed on Water Street.
so we don't have a map of where they are? Because the bid goes all the way down to tennis courts. So if they're picking up garbage cans, you know, that side of Quick Trip,
So the cans they would be picking up are the iron ones. I think in like Owen Park, you have City of Eau Claire cans there. Right,
if I
the
understand
gray
that.
one.
But if they jumped on and went, what is the Water Street bid board? And went, oh, look at this giant map, it goes from the bridge past VFW.
You guys have used your earthbound last year. Right,
This is not in our, like, this is not in our budget
Garbage is in our budget.
for this much. Did we,
No.
what did we spend last year?
I thought it was like 27 or.
I don't have internet access in here, so I just can't help look anything up for you
Let's
guys.
see if I can find it.
See if I-
Your last Water Street packet would have had your financials in it, and if someone has that, they could look at the
You.
line item.
And you're really organized.
I don't know, look at Joe here, he's got
He's
a,
the organized one.
I love it.
Yeah. If it's labeled, we gotta talk.
So like if we do this, which I think we probably should, probably pull under reserves, let's do it. Okay.
I think it was 5,600 based on this.
And there's the increase. Yes.
I think it says like year to date.
Everything actually.
It's on my quality ledger.
Yeah.
So they have that.
Jay, you know what is the university do? They've got garbage cans around there?
We do that through our facilities, department, I think, for the most part. So in-house for the university. I don't think we have any
Turns.
along the, sidewalks, so we start further into the perimeter camp.
I think there's some behind the arts building, isn't there?
Yeah,
Which is
behind arts,
technically-
maybe between that and HSF.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking, like if garbage jet LLC.
Do you have that? Well, Chelsea, it's
Yeah, some,
5,600.
I'm trying to look at the last.
This one's from.
Nice.
Too long and you probably didn't
My
get
boss.
We pull from reserves and annualize it on, approve it on an annual basis. Lesson learned, and we fix it by next year?
Well, I mean, we have time to figure out what to do.
Going conserve is the only option. So right now we have, in the last meeting, we had two motions, one, and I found out now of what I need to get over to Billy to get these RFPs actually going, but we have the RFP for the maintenance RFP for getting somebody to clean up the street in summer on a monthly basis. Get an RFP for that. I just need to get Billy some details. I talked to Dave Solberg all about it, detail yesterday, what they actually need. And then we have the two events, that we approved would be $5,000 each. Like, so that would mean the only way is our reserves. We already spent it. Goes down last year. So we have any other marketing money that we're planning on spending should be the money that we allocated for the volume one stuff. Like we're over budget for the year. We pick up the garbage, which is, so.
And you did go over budget last year, so you budgeted 4,200 and it was 56,669. You know. So you're $400 shy of what the new quote is, just under.
It's a prime example of why the bid needs to expand, and why we need to have a higher budget so we can do this stuff, but it's also doing that is not really a thing until everything else is figured out.
I'm going on a rabbit hole, stop me. Barstow, downtown. Is it 17 cans per 100,000? Is it, how does the garbage pickup work on the other side of the river or by the courthouse? Courthouse is so small.
Same
that-
way. Again, same thing.
But
Same people.
But their budget can't be 50% garbage on Barstow.
Well, it's 20,000.
Yep, please.
Okay, so,
The bigger bid for it.
Yes, and on the budget with the percentage.
So South Barstow has 32 cans and 8 recycling. They spend just over $20,000 a year for garbage service. Their budget this year is $177,000. So their biggest expense is landscaping. They spend about almost $56,000 in landscaping, and then their tree lighting and garbage service are the next two largest line items, around the $20,000 mark. That are spent every year. North Barstow has significantly less cans. I believe they have, Billy, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think,
Yep, but I can bring it up here.
okay. And then West Grand only has one can. The other thing with South Barstow is they do have, from May, well, now it's kind of moved to April because we have several events in downtown in April. So April to October, they have twice a week pickup, because they've had overflowing issues. So what is
North Barstow has 13 and they're charged $7.92 each.
And that's North Barstow 13. So North Barstow also still has the really heavy, they had like custom made lids that split it to recycling and garbage. And those weigh over 50 pounds. And so they have, I think their rate is higher because manually they have their staff having to pick that up. It has been an issue. I don't know if you knew this, for a while. Earthbound has been like, can we do anything about these lids? Nothing's happened. I just want to let you know because it's not great for their staff to have to deal with. South Barstow removed those really heavy tops and went back to the, I think if you have tops, they're like the rounded funnel. Yeah. So that's probably a little bit of why they.
Well, and just business, it's a percentage thing. We can't be at 50%. It sounds to me like Barstow and other places are at 9-11% of their annual budget. So that's the solution we need 2025, 26.
Yeah, you have a lot of cans if you look at the area covered. Again, North Barstow kind of has a little bit, they have a lot more industry. They have the park. They don't really have, because Phoenix Park is covered by the city. So some of their district is offset by that, I would say. South Barstow is a closer comparison in the sense of the number of like restaurants and outgoing, takeout type.
But the takeout, if they take it out, they're not supposed to, they're taking it out.
I think your college students must be you have so much residential here, that's
what Jed said, it's a time coming down in 2 ways.
That's a portion of it, but I also know that the talent and the hard work of all the owners on Water Street, managers, teammates, we're not gonna let the place be. So if a can's gone, my team's not gonna go, well, gee, that was supposed to be a bid board project, right? Yeah, so it's a situation that if we have 30 cans or 1 can, the place is gonna be clean, right? I mean, look at our alleyways with the things that we try to focus on and pick up, so I'm not worried about clean or not, I'm worried about the budget. So either we increase the budget or decrease what we're spending, and that's just how you run a business, right?
And you're looking at 10% for 1,500-ish.
Increase. What do you mean? No, we're at 50% on our.
No, I'm thinking, but the other bids are around 10%,
10,
so yours would be about 1,500.
45.
Yeah,
Oh, what's your budget?
I'm sorry,
59.
the solution. would be-
Yeah. Got it.
You're at the line, I thought this.
No, I'm just trying to think what that conveys.
So for that much money, we're gonna have 2 garbage cans and.
Well, I mean, really, that's what you would have.
I would think you'd only need like 1 by Quick Trip and then maybe like 4 on this big block, 2 on each side, and then past Fifth Avenue, you don't really need a garbage can because there's not any restaurants or anything that way.
So one thing that Earthbound is really great about is because the guys are manually doing it, and they're mostly guys. They don't have a female pickup right now, but they are really good at communicating, at least with South Barstow when I was chair, like, hey, this can specifically, we are seeing an incredible amount of garbage in versus the other cans. They're great people. They probably would walk you through, if you guys wanted to reduce cans to, let's just throw out a number, maybe 6 or 8, they would be able to tell you which 8 you need to keep based on use, because they're dealing with it every week.
Can we pay them to keep the garbage service going for the next month or 2, or would we evaluate how many cans we need? Since the only way to really make this decision is
Information.
to wait for a whole nother month for another board meeting, so otherwise else we do it, but we also don't want the trash to get canceled and spill all over. So we basically bent over a barrel right now, like we gotta pay $6,000.
Bent over a
or
trash
get
can.
PD trash picked up, or are we into trash?
Yeah, I think it's amortized. I don't think it's January, give me $6,000. It's services done, services paid, just like our
Right,
business, right?
They do bill in advance, so they have been doing, if they've done a pickup this year so far, they've done it without a contract, so,
They do quarterly or?
quarterly bills.
So that's finally a plus on our side. Let's pay the quarter, or we can
Right.
hire the fire bill state, you can fire them wherever we want, just as long as we don't pay them 6,000 anyway,
Right.
right? Or adjust things. And again, I'm sure they're good people and they're hard workers, but let's not, if we can save 40% or even 35%, that helps us sculpture quite a bit.
Could we just do a motion to, pay for the first quarter?
We can see if they'll,
So we have
you
time
can
to
motion
work
that
out
and we can reach out, see if they're willing to do that.
until we're able to discuss more what we want to do.
Yeah, you can do the motion and I can tell them that's what you guys passed and see if that's what, if they're willing to do it.
Yeah, we didn't have enough people running.
Well,
Good
yeah, I
music in
think
your
if you
hair.
don't make a decision, then they would just stop picking up trash.
Tell them that we're.
I also, yeah, because I also don't feel comfortable making a $6,000 motion with 5 voting members here. Yeah.
Well, also if there's less cans, will the
That
price
would be
per can
appropriate.
go up?
Probably.
Yeah, basically that's true. Like if there's less cans, the price per can will probably be higher, because there's the under or.
The over.
And I think what Chelsea said is accurate. Majority of things are on these 2 blocks.
Quick trip to here.
Further you get that way, I don't think you're having many people walking out of businesses with their solo cups and throwing them on the ground. Same further you get that way. So yeah, like we've got a couple down there, 3 or 4 here, and a couple down there. Like I feel like 10 would be the maximum number. We have 7 blocks. We have 1 street with 7 blocks. 19 seems extremely excessive. It's 2.5
It does seem like a
garbage
lot.
cans per block.
I think it's
We're-
inclusive the entire map. Like there's one on this side, isn't there, on Fourth?
Yeah, there is, yeah, like on that side street, like where the taxis park are.
Actually, your bid, Doug, what block was that?
Fourth.
Or,
Yeah, so it's not just Water Street.
Right, it goes to
Yeah.
the side street.
Yeah.
That's probably what makes the most sense for where the garbage cans go to, but
Well, I call it the 50-foot rule. You leave Quick Trip with the torn dog, the wrapper is torn away 50 feet. They don't walk up the torn ones out, you know? My guys, the corner, if we're busy, we get from every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we have one of our cans out next to our building. So when we do see somebody slip through or a bottle or whatever, or somebody gets off a bus from Hudson and they have a bottle, we grab it, throw it in our garbages. Now, that's a 40%, not 60% goes into the city can, right? But then if we really want to go down this hole, the guy making hot dogs that dumps all of his garbage all night long into that one in front of Staven Hoop. And the next morning I'm taking care of it because it's overflowing, right? So I think they have to be there, but it's gonna fall on us to make sure that, you know, if there's 10 of them or 60 of them, you just can't be 50% budget on it.
At one time, a long time ago, what we did is everybody, if they had a garbage can in front of the business, they took care of it. And,
I second that motion.
I mean, that's what we used to do. I don't know how we got into the, I mean, we can look at that in the future too. You sponsor your garbage can, there you go.
Between the
Adopt
people at
garbage.
this table that pay their garbage bills every month, there's plenty of places to throw garbage.
Right.
It's a line item for our budget too.
Well, what's the?
How do we verbally prove it based on a quarter?
We have a motion on anything here or what?
Did you fully make one? I think we kind of started talking about the quarterly idea, but.
Yeah, that was my motion.
Budget to the first quarter.
And pay.
so the motion then would be to pull $2,000 out of reserves to fund the first quarter garbage pickup and determine
number of cans that are actually necessary by Q2.
Yes.
I think it'd be good to meet with a representative from Earth, at the next, at a bid board meeting, so we can talk to them about what we're thinking about doing and see what they have to say about it. They're the ones picking it up.
And they know how
They
full
might
are.
have some
Are they
good
picking up
input.
empty cans, or are they picking up full cans? Or-
Yeah, they have those
Yeah, I
days.
don't know that information. I like I said, they keep really good track of that. We certainly can reach out to them, and see, Jamie Pappas, is kind of, she's the person that does all the scheduling and would know exactly your billings and all that stuff, so.
I didn't ask them how many cans do they need for an area to make it worth their while.
So,
If we got a can, like you said, right outside my apartment building, and they're coming down with the garbage, we should probably get rid of that, make them go out the back door and put the garbage in the garbage.
Yeah, I would say that one and then the one on the corner of Sixth, I don't think it's needed, because it is just getting filled up with garbage.
I'll go for a walk with the Onyx app I have, and I'll pin where the garbage cans are inside the map, and I'll send it to the group, just so we can see where they
And
are.
their pickup days are Thursdays, so it might be interesting if you walk through maybe on a Wednesday,
Mhm.
or before they come for the pickup. That's gonna be when the cans are the most full, so you'll get your best idea.
And it's the wrong time of year to
Yeah.
buy, because it's cold.
So you're gonna look at it.
Yep, I'll get a map going.
do we have a motion on the table then from Joe that needs a second to fund trash removal through Q1 with an analysis by Q2 for how many trash cans we actually need?
Using 2,000 from reserves to do that.
Yes, only the 2,000 from reserves. Got a second on that?
The second time.
Any discussion?
The one discussion point that then I have, Billy question, then whose responsibility is it to reach out to Earthbound and set that up so that next month we do have some actual info to look at for how many cans we need?
I have their contract waiting to sign, so I'll reach back out to them and say that you guys only voted for a quarter, so we can get the agreement updated. And I can at the same time ask them if they'll come to your next meeting
To set the number of cans we need. That-
to
they need to
answer,
explain it to why we're not just saying,
answer any
no,
questions or anything that you guys have. Yep.
we don't have time sheet.
Lots of big sheet.
So, so the, whose responsibility it is? Yep, so you'll have that at the next meeting.
I'll have Earthbound come at the next meeting to answer a question.
Okay,
So you have a motion and a second
Yes.
to vote if there's no more
For
discussion.
quarterly distribution of reserves and action on the next.
Stuff and how many cans we need.
And I'll bring it back with dots and show me steps I want.
any further discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? The motion carried. So now we're on the operational plan discussion.
The next three agenda items can really be summarized into one, because there's no way to talk about one with the other, so exactly what agenda item we're on while we have this conversation. Is kind of gonna bounce around slightly, but the gist is we need to figure out how to be effective. We have this council listening session or work group or whatever they want to call it now, meeting with council on Monday night after the regular council session. And that's the opportunity for the kids to discuss in front of council with Dave Solberg, kind of steering the meeting. So we can get up and we can present. I think that it's very beneficial, not that every board member from every bid board will have an opportunity to speak, but I think it's beneficial that we all show up and show how active of a group we are, that they have between the four bids, almost 60 business owners that are willing to volunteer hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of their time to help fix up the downtown. And they need to look at that as an asset instead of a problem. Because based on the conversations and meetings that I have been in, there's an extreme disconnect between our ultimate goal, city staff's ultimate goal, and city council's ultimate goal, because those all pretty much align. It's really just deep-rooted feelings of how everything should be done, when and what and why it should be done. So we really need to convey to council the potential of what the Water Street bid and what all of the bids can do, but explain that underneath the current systems and the current policies, this is impossible. We are a board of all volunteer board members that are constantly under threat from city legal for violating their interpretation of laws. And I have no understanding of why I'm sitting here volunteering to do something. Well, every time I open up an email, I get another threat for volunteering my time. And Billy sent that packet out about a lot of big stuff, which is great because it explains a lot of the policies within the city and how to kind of navigate that, which is great and helps us so we can better understand. Like, I now have a lot better understanding of what I need to get over to you to get these RFPs put together for maintenance, and to get these RFPs put together to do our 2 events. Like, finally know how to do that. But that's not beneficial for an organization like this, because 10 years down the road, without the people that have sat here and gone through the past 2 years and learned what Jake and I have learned about municipal law and how to navigate the city and the bureaucracy of it, we are not future-proof. If this organization, this board turns over, which it should turn over, it should not be the same people sitting on it in 20 years. They're going to have no clue what's going on. And then what was the purpose? So we need to figure out how we want to operate and how to figure that process out. And when we go to the city and all we ever hear about is, well, we can't do this because of the operating agreement from 1982. So the Water Street bid has a 40-year-old operating agreement. I don't know if that one's in your packet. I think it is. I was going to pull all these and I skimmed through the packet and saw that they're all there. The old one.
There's a 1991 in the
Is
attached,
it 91 in that one?
or 1990.
It was the 82 one that they were referring to in that one decking meeting.
That might have been north or south, or one of the
Yeah.
other bids.
Operating plan was the 1990, the one that it was when you guys were kind of looking at start downtown redevelopment. Actually, I think Brewster was on Student Senate and his name's on there, so it was a while ago. But yeah, the 84 was South Barstow as the oldest that has not been updated. And then I believe we just talked about West Grand today was 99 or 90.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But nonetheless, outdated.
Actually,
Yeah, whether it's 45 years old or
Oh, there's some
35 years
very-
old, it's no longer relevant. Times have changed. How many times have we talked about just since 2020? So many things have changed. So we need to adjust that. There is a draft of one that South Barstow had been working on. Several of the bid chairs have kind of shared that document around. I believe that one got actually stuck as city legal and never really actually made it to council. I feel like next Monday night, there'll be a lot of discussion about that, and we'll see a little bit more about where that goes. And, how exactly should work, what I have been advocating for, just so that everybody knows, and hopefully that you guys are all on the same page, if you're not, tell me now. So what I'm advocating for is that we utilize DACI, or technically it could be any other 501c3. DECI just being the one that makes the most sense because they already have the connections, they're already set up, they'd already be able to step right in and facilitate this. But as a parent organization for the bid, so that we would take our entire budget, rather than paying DECI $3,000 that we do for administrative fees, every year there would be one RFP, we would take our entire budget, we would hand it over to DECI. And then when we want to do something and we want to go hire somebody to do something, we would tell DECI, hey, we need a $3,000 check sent here, we need a $5,000 check sent there. When we want an event plan, we would have access to all of, whether Decky, or like I said, another organization's paid staff. That then gives every board member a point of contact, because as it stands right now, Jed, if you want to get something on the agenda for a meeting like this, what's the process? How do you do that?
I just want to make a correction, so that the minutes reflect correctly, we're 501c6. It doesn't have to be a C3 or a C6,
Nonprofit.
it's just another.
Yeah, just use 501c6.
It could be a for-profit even if you wanted, just wanted to clarify, it doesn't have to be strictly one.
A point of contact. So that it is streamlined, and when Jed has something, because as it stands right now, if Jed emails me, if somebody from the city is copied in on that email, I'm gonna get another email threatened for violating public meeting laws, because Jed sent me an email about something that we need to get on the agenda. And I had a coffee with Stephanie yesterday, and I asked her about this, and I was like, how are we expected to get anything done? And she had said that, well, just try for 6 months to operate within the rules. And I said, Stephanie, please explain one scenario where the water bid has ever broken the rules. And there isn't one. And I said, so here's the deal, like, I can't even send an email out to cancel a meeting. How are we supposed to get anything done if you're not allowed to communicate with each other? And there's just such strict, crazy guidelines. Those guidelines are in place for city staff to ensure that city staff has oversight. Bid board, this group is the oversight for this organization. For these tax dollars, it's not city staff. It is not one person. It's this board of directors that oversees how those funds are allocated. We don't have the control to do that under this. So what I think we need to do is we need to look at the set of bylaws that South Park has drafted up. We need to kind of take what we need out of there, and the gist is the ability to operate more autonomously. And the only way to do that is to allocate our entire budget to one organization that facilitates the day-to-day operations and the mission of the bid. And what I'm asking for is not very hard, since the precedent is every other municipality in the state, except for the city of Eau Claire. Every single other one. There's no other city that operates like this. There's no other bid that operates like this. You look at Chippewa, you look at Menominee, you look at La Crosse. They all have a parent organization that is generally a nonprofit with an executive director, so that we have an actual paid staff member that would work for us and would be able to communicate to accomplish things. Because otherwise, we're here once a month. And right now, like, we don't even know, we barely even knew how to figure out how to decide how many garbage cans that we needed. We've been micromanaged into dysfunction. So that's why we need to do this. The bylaws part is on here, because I think that we should probably, while doing this, take a deep dive and look at our bylaws. I feel like that we should have probably a more active executive committee that has secretary, a treasurer, a vice president, president, and a past president. So probably 5 people. We could then have full board meetings quarterly and allow that executive committee made up of 5 people to make a lot of the decisions in between those full board meetings, which helps streamline our organization, get some things done. When Billy needs an RFP and she needs some statements about what this maintenance bid actually looks like, she has a point of contact rather than just hoping one of us answers an email. And also, like, Billy, I don't know how many times I've tried to explain, but like, none of my being an asshole is personal to you at all. And I apologize for all of it. You, as I said the other day at the DECA meeting, and I told Stephanie and Dave, I feel that you are in a completely unfair position, and having the expectations of doing all the administrative work for all 4 bids is more than one full-time job, and you have another full-time job, and to dump this on you isn't fair, because you have to deal with us, and we're all nuts. And then you have to deal with the city and deal with the rules and the policies and the guidelines that go within a bureaucracy. And to try to be the middle person there, I feel for you. I truly do. So when I'm saying things in meetings, like, it is not personal at all. Like, I get it. I get the position that you're in. We want to try to figure out a way that we can streamline that, remove that stress from you and not make it so that you have an unattainable goal. Because this is broken. And now you have to get up on Monday night and talk on the Water Street bid. And the main thing that Dave is gonna ask me is, what does the Water Street bid offer to the community? What is your guys' answer to that? Any of it's on the board.
It's a trick question.
Yeah, 'cause I'm
I've already
saying-
talked to Jeff about it.
Unless you guys oppose to that, I'm gonna say the potential is huge. Here's all the examples of how this has worked. Here's my experience of where this has worked. But the reality is, right now, under the current constraints and under the current system, what we offer.
Well, garbage
$6
service.
grand for garbage service.
You have 19 moving kids.
Like, I don't know what to say to that.
I'm on board with plan A and the way to describe it. We can all see the light at the end of the tunnel and going through the forest, but to push back, is that city council gonna go, well, it works for the other four? And they're probably gonna say, no, it doesn't. We're just playing.
It's a different, very similar thing.
Okay. So then are they gonna go, well, they found this loophole, we are gonna RFP the funds if we all agree to that to XYZ company.
You can do that. It's not up to council.
No, I know, but
Okay.
then respectfully, there is no tier of control. We don't need you for we don't need that arm for the garbage removal. We just tell her and it's done, right?
It's like
Right,
Dave
so this is
explained.
what my conversation with Stephanie yesterday when I talked to her about administrative services. We talked about a lot of stuff, but that was one of them. And she kept saying how like, well, the city provides these administrative services. And I said, let's get back on the definition of that. Because all I ever hear about is meeting minutes and posting agendas. We don't need that. We could have an executive committee that meets last week, meets the Tuesday prior to a full board meeting that establishes an agenda, sends an agenda over to the city, they post it. We can have a secretary on that executive committee that takes meeting minutes and sends those minutes to the meeting, to the city to be posted. We can do it with a camera and a mic like Billy has right here. There's an AI for it. I was the secretary for downtown Menominee for the past year. It is too easy. What we need is who is responsible for following through with this. When we leave a board meeting and we vote to spend $2,000 and find out how many garbage cans we need, Billy's gonna follow up on that, and that's why I asked the question of who's gonna be responsible for this, but there's no actual guidelines for that. Generally, we leave after voting on something and then nobody does anything, and then we come back a month later and we're like, oh, well, we talked about that last month, let's talk about it again. So that's where that parent organization, and as it currently stands, is the city, is Billy is this organization. But Billy and the city come with all of these city policies. If we can erode those city policies by having one RFP, eliminating the liability that the city is worried about of us running amok with our money, even though you can clearly see by this meeting that we're spending responsibly and having decisions between the people that are actually affected about how to spend $6,000 in garbage. We eliminate that liability in the city because once that RFP is signed between that parent organization for our funds, that's where their liability drops off. Steve can argue the opposite and can tell Stephanie the opposite all he wants. That's how every single other municipality in the state operates.
We've already said that can be done
Yes.
too,
Yep.
so.
And Dave
It's-
is on board with this. Dave Solberg.
North
Yeah.
Barstow already has an RFP out for theirs, so it's.
I think John brought up a few meetings ago. Do we need a big board for that?
Sure.
For everything you're talking, why? You're all.
Because otherwise you'd be asking us all, and I would. I feel like my conversation with John, he probably would. I would make the same financial donation. Where's the donation?
Or 6 feet, we would.
So
But
you,
is everybody going to? Because that is optional.
obviously you guys can resolve the bid. There's, if you wanted to reinstate a bid, it's like a 20-year waiting game. So that's just first. Second, you can do that.
this was brought up at another, I think it was South Barstow meeting, but it was South Barstow, because, if you have someone who's able to do that, and maybe Water Street is more capable of actually, like you just committed, like I can do this, I'll pay this in. It's like if you share an alleyway with 5 people and it snows and one person plows it out or pays for a plow, what are your chances of like making sure you get that money back every single time? I'm not saying it's not a possibility. I just want to make sure that you recognize also the risks of dissolving the bid if for some reason it didn't look good or work well. You're back at.
And I think the goal would be if bid 2.0 were to come around or building 2.0, all of us get
Yeah.
together, we're still gonna RFP the money to an organization. We don't wanna, I don't wanna be the guy. Joe doesn't, he doesn't, you know, she doesn't, we're not gonna be. It'll be the same concept with just less, sounds like restrictions from the municipality.
More autonomy, less city policy.
Well, that's how the organization started off
Right.
without the city involved. It was the Water Street merchant downtown and then, I mean, it was at one time that way.
And I mean, speaking to people at this table, you guys sit on a lot of different organizations and you see a lot, and you're all over the city and, you know, you've been in different cities. I'm being forced to believe that this is not run the way it should be, you know, for the last 18 months, 2 years, whatever. And you guys have seen a lot of changes.
I've asked 3 separate times publicly to Steve as to whether or not, I asked, why does the city of Eau Claire operate differently than every other municipality in the state? And whether or not he believes that every other municipality in the state is operating illegally. He has never answered me. I plan on asking that question to council again on Monday night. Stephanie, her answer to that was, well, if Steve said so, then probably.
I think it's an impossible question to answer because we don't know the details of how each of them operate.
The EDC does.
So, but we don't know what's happening behind the scenes and stuff. So, right. So like, if you guys did do it, get quotes to have a like company do all your work and stuff, it's gonna look the same as any other community, but they're not gonna know necessarily that it went through a purchasing process to do that.
Right, because it generally doesn't. But if that's what it has to take to get to here, then that's what we'll do. So just like Menominee is part of the operating thing. They just have a contract with downtown Menominee to facilitate it.
So the, South Barstow bid, did they submit, an operating plan to the city to review?
They sent one to, staff, yes.
But how about the North Barstow bid?
No other bids. I don't think any other ones have submitted a new one. Only South Barstow submitted the one.
So, I mean, it is something we could look at as, we could look at how the South Barstow bid operating agreement is, and, you know, we could maybe do the same operating bid proposal. If they do.
Yeah, you might have different goals that are included, but certainly,
Similar.
yeah,
But the thing is,
I
the
would
city wants to control how our operating agreement is written.
Right. Which is what we need to talk to council about.
Right.
Because council should control that. And however council wants it to operate is how it should operate. Council is our legislative body.
But the council.
But I would say council still has to follow law. Just, they don't get to decide to break law.
So the council.
Correct, but it's not up to city staff to determine.
But they'll tell them.
If council tells you to do something that's illegal, you have a decision to make whether or not you do it or resign because of your integrity.
That's not, I wouldn't say that's accurate, but.
But see, the problem is the city council will have Steve Nick,
so the
and they'll tell them how to operate. And then the
And I
council
want,
operate the way they're told.
right.
Even though it might not be right.
I don't know if there's ever a solution until Steve's gone. But all that I want to ask for is to operate like every other city. Why we don't.
But it may be easier to do that with, and run parallel to their system. If we can RFP our money to somebody else and we then circumvent the problem, that seems to be the easiest way to do it without waiting 20 years in case we didn't make a mistake.
And you guys with your budget don't need an RP. I'm sorry, I should ask. I have a different comment.
And Billy, to answer kind of what you're saying is, yes, it absolutely is how it works. It's called an unlawful order. It's no different than how that would work.
We
in the
wouldn't have
military.
to
You
choose to do it or resign.
You have a decision whether or not you want to listen to that order or disregard that order. And then that would go to court, whether or not you were correct, disregard that order from your superior. And then in that case, you would have to prove that your superior was operating outside of the law. So it would be no different than an unlawful order. But it's not even relevant. We're talking crazy, weird scenario.
Here's different.
Is that? Speak to
Well, they are,
Okay.
this council is our legal legislative body. They're elected by the people.
But they have to follow state and federal laws
Absolutely.
still. They can't direct us to break law.
Correct.
But
They can, you don't have to follow it.
But then to Jeff's point, why are municipalities 20 miles away doing it so different, right?
And why is the WDC advocating that operate differently?
And I'll tell you, we are all for you guys doing one RFP and giving it to somebody else. We don't, this perception that we want to control the bids is not accurate. I've been pushing for all the bids to do this so that the only thing we do have to do is minutes and public postings. And we are totally out of it. So the city's not blamed for everything anymore. I'm more than happy to see this happen. So I'm more power to you guys if this is what you want to do. I'm all for it.
This scenario or some shape or form of it is the best for every party involved. And what I've kind of gathered in trying to navigate this is that there are a few points where there are some complete breakdowns in communication of what everybody's goal is and who is this opinion that that there's two different sides and that people are operating with malicious intent. And then everybody is pitted against each other and has created two separate sides that ultimately want very similar, if not the exact same things. So I think that it can be moved forward. But it requires.
Jump in.
So one way to do this is exactly as was just described, create the RFP, go through the process at the city of payment procurement, and once it's chosen, work through that. The point of the meeting on Monday, though, is so that council can hear from you guys what it is that you would like to see that would make this streamline and work. And within that, as long as council is not breaking the law, and as Steve is the municipal lawyer and council must listen to the words he says, they don't necessarily, it's his interpretation of the law or the state statute that they'll be hearing, but they don't necessarily have to agree with his interpretation. Of course, they're not going to break the law, or that would be, the goal, but and anywhere this is, it doesn't need to be scenic, it doesn't matter. Any lawyer is not writing or creating the law, they're interpreting it, right? So if state statute says something, and it's interpreted one way by the municipal lawyer in Menominee, and it's interpreted another way by our municipal lawyer, the council has the right to say, we've heard you, but we believe that this falls within the law and that we want to see this happen. And they would create that document that they would then vote on. And so if council votes that they would like to see you guys be able to work on your operational plans, maybe outside of city guidance, or certain number of things that are maybe city policy, but not necessarily federal law, they would do that. And then that's the point of this meeting. So Councilman Brewster and Council Member Felton were the two that brought this forward in the first place. So they have intention of whatever comes out of this Monday meeting of drafting up, and I don't know the word, it's not a proposal or a policy or something, but they can draft something. They present it to council and council can vote it up or down. They can make edits to it. But if they say that you can work in these certain ways that maybe we've been experiencing are different than before and that have put up a lot of red tape, then once they make that, they direct staff to act accordingly. And that's the other option. So it's really important that this Monday meeting happen. It's really important that we go there respectfully and explain to them what it is we want them to know and what would best serve the bids to do the good work that you guys are talking about. So I guess I'm just saying, I'm encouraging you to come to the Monday meeting with that in mind and know that it's not necessarily just this one option or another, but there is an intent to have some of this clarified by council eventually after this meeting. That it doesn't just stop there. We're not just there to air grievances. We're asking, or you guys are asking, I say we, I'm also part of the South Barstow bid, but asking for the allowances that you guys have, that you want to be able to have your bylaws specify who serves on the board, those types of things. So I guess I would just say, I encourage you to come to the meeting. It's really important that council here, and this is another reason, we have a lot of younger, newer council members. I mean, a lot of people even in this district don't know what the bid is. And so Councilman Brewster made the comment that city council members don't know what they don't know even. And this is one of those issues. They're not really even well aware of kind of all, not just what happened in the last year, but just really the general operations of bids and what happens over throughout the rest of the state and what looks different here. This is the time to explain that and then see where it goes. But certainly we have options. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And I'm just encouraging this before we move to the point of like dissolving the bid, because that is a significant step. And right now, Eau Claire is one of 3 cities in the state that is looking to show growth in the next 15 years. The bids play a significant role in what that looks like. And if you guys would go away, I would worry about those next 15 years. We're, as Jeff had mentioned, we're not just kicking the can down the road for the next 6 months. This is bigger picture stuff. And I'm sure Jake realizes that with even the building of Sonotake and what goes into that. And so this is long-term planning. And so doing this right and making sure that you guys are there would be I guess I just really wish you guys to come. I just think this is an opportunity to like.
I appreciate that point, but the same way you would be an advocate for EauClaireWI.gov to grow through the same 12 years of university, Sonotake, River, all of this.
Yeah, as long as there's people working to make sure that we have a viable place to live, work, and play. Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. I'm just saying that it's not one or the other. It's not, council shoots this down, there's no other option. I just want to be careful before we get to the point where we're all so frustrated that dissolving the bid then becomes like this beautiful idea.
And I think kind of what we need to do to move forward, I'd like to get through next Monday. I think that we should also email the board somehow and tell everybody that we would appreciate if they came, because the more support we have there, if it's just a couple people from each bid to get up and talk, but we have 60 business owner and property owners sitting in the room behind us, that adds a lot more weight to what those of us who are going to speak are going to say. We can stand up and say, here's the people that we represent, and somehow this 60 group of crazy entrepreneurs all agree on one thing for the first time ever. And this is probably the most influential group of people in the city of Eau Claire, and as elected officials, you should probably listen to them. So the long story short is the more people we can get to come on Monday night just to show support for the bids, the better. And then I think that our bid should have committee meeting or basically a work session. I don't know how you even structure this, because setting up meetings is took Dave 10 hours.
I was gonna say, did you not understand the explanation yesterday?
But I think we pretty much need to have like a work session outside of a full board meeting with all this other stuff on the agenda. After next Monday, we hear what they have to say, what they have to offer, how council wants it to work, and then we draft up what we want. And we have that copy that South Barstow put together. We have our current bylaws, we have the 1990 agreement, we have all the stuff, and we can kind of pick and play what we want. And I have examples from like 15 other, maybe not 15, I don't know how many, but 10 other operating agreements with other municipalities that we've looked at with Becky that I got from WEDC. So I think that basically after next Monday night, I would like to be able to send out a doodle poll and get as many of us as possible. That has to be publicly noticed. I don't know how you wanna look at that, we'll figure out a date.
Yeah, any meeting would
But
have to be
that'd just the only-
publicly
it'd basically be
noticed,
Another meeting, but that'd be the only agenda item, so we don't get bogged down in this
Yep.
stuff.
and we can work that out.
And put together those two documents.
Is this a regular city council meeting?
No,
It's-
after a city council.
It's a work session
But is it
after,
Scheduled because the city.
it's
council
on
meeting
the,
Goes
it's,
till 8, 9 o'clock.
it's on the agenda for after the meeting.
Yeah, so 6 PM start time for council meeting, and then I think the agenda should be posted soon.
It should be,
I looked at it right before it came.
should be already out.
Before this?
So there's, yeah, so they weren't expecting a ton, but I do think the tourism,
I don't believe.
so, that-
Too, I didn't see this afternoon.
so obviously 6 o'clock is the start of the meeting, so this won't. Until after that.
It could be 8, 9 o'clock.
I know, I
Yeah.
put that at 8 o'clock. It could
Maybe
be,
that's one of the reasons they got it.
oh, John.
Dave worked really hard to make sure that we could even.
You really did. It was a complicated, how do you close to allow the voices to come forward and,
Cause there was, the first scenario was gonna be a 20-minute thing that we weren't even. able to-
Did you get it, Peter?
And
Right,
Dave-
that's, I mean, we just
Yeah, so there's,
set up a meeting sometimes, they don't want people there. So if it's a controversial thing, they put it at the end of the agenda because everybody's on it.
well, they always put like work sessions or that stuff, it always comes at the end of the meeting. It's always after the regular meeting or at the end. So on Monday, there's a zoning hearing. It's a public hearing, whether people show up or not, I don't know. I haven't heard if there's a lot of neighbors upset on this or not, but it's, for a multifamily development. And then there's a public discussion on a grant. So those are the only two things. And then the work session, to inform and educate the city council on business improvement districts in EauClaireWI.gov. So that's the Monday agenda.
I've been to much longer city council public hearings.
Yeah, and you never know if, you know,
Could get a lot of.
30
neighbors, yeah,
people
you could.
show up on the zoning thing, it could be a long one. If nobody does, it could be a 5-minute thing. So you never know how long the council meetings. We typically, if there's gonna be a lot of people show up, we hear from people beforehand. So I don't know if they've gotten much feedback on the zoning thing. The grant thing should be a pretty quick conversation, I would anticipate.
And based on my conversation with Dave and Stephanie and then Dave at Decky, I'm very confident that he is gonna ensure that everybody's voice is heard. And that the structure of this meeting that he figured out will fit what we need.
We're meeting tomorrow, me, one rep from each bid district, if you decide to come, if not, that's fine. And then Dave Miner, I invited you, maybe you didn't see it.
Yeah.
Dave Miner will be there as well, with, Councilman Falter, Member Fulton and Brewster. And it's more of a kind of a moment where we're going to be able to communicate kind of the structure of the meeting, because there will be scheduled speakers, probably one from each bid, possibly Dave Miner, otherwise he'll be called upon for questioning. And Dave at this meeting basically wants to know kind of what members of the bids would maybe like to speak. And so we'll be working that out. So I can certainly follow up with a few of you after that meeting when we have a little better idea of what his proposed agenda is going to be. And again, if you can't make it, obviously it's fine. We do know we have some people there, but I think, you know, if there was a time to get your voice in front of council on this, it would be now. So.
And then as far as speaking on our behalf, are you gonna speak to, are you and I gonna do it? Or
Where are you
are
looking
you
at?
doing, are you doing this one and that one, or that one and this one, or what are you?
I might be on the time.
Cause I'm good to cover Water Street. Okay.
That makes sense.
Because there's a good chance I'll be.
Yeah.
And I would just urge anyone attending, to keep it positive. No names are being mentioned, but we're really there to kind of set the stage for what we envision working
We could.
the best.
What's the potential of what we can do? What do we need to
Yeah,
do that?
so
And
let's keep it sunshiny. I know you are.
And to follow back up with Billy, as far as council having to follow the law, I think you are 100% right, but the law, the state law is determined by the state Supreme Court and enforced by the state Attorney General, not by the city attorney of Eau Claire. The city attorney of Eau Claire's job is to defend the city if they violate that state law that is set by the Supreme Court. Steve is an attorney, not a Supreme Court justice. He does not dictate the law. His interpretation, city council does not have to follow his interpretation of the law. They have to follow the Supreme Court justice's interpretation.
Is there anything else on the agenda?
Okay, I guess we'll get out of here though.
Yes.
Do we need a calendar roster review?
So we sent out the roster that we had, and I thought we were gonna talk more about possible calendar stuff with some different committees Jeff wanted to do. But we're trying to get materials together for you guys so that we have the calendar dates prepared. We want to make sure the roster's up to date, so when we do send things out, that everybody who's supposed to is getting them. That stuff should be in the packet.
Very last package.
Yep, so there's the roster. We feel confident it's up to date, but if you see any names that are incorrect, shouldn't be on there, things that are missing. And then we put together a kind of a calendar based on the quarterly thing, but I think there needs to be more decisions. So if you guys want to meet next month, the calendar isn't like set in stone, just.
What is, if we were to try to do a action item for bylaw change in order to propose an operating agreement, how many days before do we have to submit that? I'm just thinking, like, if we go to Monday, and then I send out a doodle poll to see who can meet, and we get a public notice, that's we're at a week out, set up a meeting, if we were to finalize anything. We need 20, is it 20 days?
For
bylaws?
bylaws?
Let me double check on that.
So it's,
Like, I'm just thinking like.
Yeah.
If we all meet in this other separate meeting, or whoever can meet, and we decide like, hey, here's what we want to do, I just want to make sure that there's time to get that done before the next meeting. If there's not, and we're like a few days shy, then I would say we just push next month's meeting a week to make sure that we have that time. But that's also hypothetical, and if we come up with something in that separate meeting that we actually feel the board would want to vote on, so we can just communicate. Is that?
Yep.
and I believe the deadline with bylaws being like submitted to your board for review is based on what you have in your bylaws for that. So you might not even have something, but 10 days is
It's for the public notice to change.
over the notice. Oh,
Yeah, the public notice for a bylaw change has to be longer than a regular public notice.
And I'll
think-
double
Jackie
check
had that
on
maybe
that.
specifically, because there was, like, we want people to have time to review it, but it looks.
Right.
I thought it was 10 days.
Oh, here, proposed amendments to the bylaws must be provided to the board members at least 5 business days
Yeah.
prior to the board meeting that's the bylaws in today's packet.
That was Jackie, but I think North and South Barstow recently updated bylaw, not recently, last 5 years. And I believe that it was that 10 days, it needed to be sent out before you could vote on a change.
If we just play it safe, plan on trying to get it before 10 days, then that would be, our next meeting would be on the 6th. So our goal would be to have something somewhat concrete by the 27th. Hopefully earlier than that, probably that last week. Or we have to push it. Either way, that's just the timeline that we would have to fit if we wanted to get that on next month's agenda or not. Just as we're thinking of getting that put together. But ultimately, let's get through Monday. And then we'll get together. Do that.
I think most of the other districts are in the same situation as we are.
Yeah.
So it's either all together.
And ultimately, it should be all together. It should all 4 bid boards should have one kind of blanket operating agreement. Maybe there's some little addendums for the differences of each one.
Right.
But if you can simplify it all, so they're all operating the same and there's one parent entity over that. And then when we need to do garbage, we don't have to send out a different RFP for Water Street, South Barstow and North Barstow and West Grand. There can just be, we need garbage service for downtown. If it's Decky or whatever that parent organization is, can go out and get that quote for at one time. Rather than.
You guys can do that now. That's what we got for the trash service, was they gave us a quote for all of them at once.
Like technically we could, but how do we, like the conversations and the weird back channels that would need to get that for us to then reach out to the South Barstow and to the North Barstow and to the West Grand, and then we'd have to have a meeting with just the bid chairs, and then they would have to take that information back to their board, and their boards would have to vote on it, and then we'd have another meeting. We're talking like, yes, you can, but it's 5 meetings of volunteers. That.
Yeah, I think you're looking at it too
If we
complicated.
were to look at the amount of hours that takes me and John and Joe and Jed and Chelsea, and Jake. And if you were to look at like.
Trust me, I get it. I sit on 2 boards. I know
Yeah.
that as a volunteer on the board, I have obligations to do things and that there's gonna be time commitments. That's a
Right.
choice I make.
What I'm trying to say is we need to figure out a system that doesn't require 5 meetings to pick up the trash. How can we do that in 1 meeting and be done with it, move on, and operate an organization like this that is for business improvement districts with a business mentality, still falling within the guidelines of the bureaucracy of a city and kind of bridging those 2 mentalities. There's no bridge right now.
But you can do that.
If
You're,
we
if you,
navigate it, as long as the people involved and on the board understand the detailed process to navigate this system, we can. But you're expecting, what if this board switched out tomorrow? What if everybody in this room's gone? We have a separate group, 10 people that are all qualified to sit on the board, that are business owners or property owners in here. Are they gonna have any clue how to spend $1?
if the board suddenly totally flipped, staff would be able to help guide them through the processes of what they need to do.
Then we.
I don't think you say that, I wish that I had the confidence in that as you do.
We'd be a city organization.
I just don't have the confidence in that, and I feel like in order to future-proof an organization for a scenario like that, for board turnover, things need to be simplified, because nobody wants to volunteer their time to then have city staff help them navigate that, which requires hundreds of hours of learning these processes. But none of us care about it. Because in my business, when something comes up, like we gotta get trash picked up, I make a decision, it's done tomorrow. And that's the mentality of the entrepreneur, of the business owner. That's the purpose of a bid board, was to try to bridge that mentality, because that obviously can't happen either. But there needs to be that middle ground. And there is clear precedent for that middle ground, and to create a very, very, very healthy, very good working relationship between business owners and the city. And there are so many examples of how that works. And like I would say, pick up the phone and call Eric Atkinson over in Miami and ask him, ask our city administrator how it works over there and how his relationship is, because we have an amazing relationship with Eric and the entire city staff. And even when Randy, the mayor, and I are fighting each other and yelling at each other, we still have a positive relationship that's able to get things done. And that bid board accomplishes more in 2 weeks than this one has in 2 years. And it's because of the dysfunction caused by these micromanagement. Hopefully we can solve it. And if not, I don't know. Not I'm at a loss. But I don't know what we're doing.
Well, let's follow the agenda, 'cause there's gotta be something
Is there
else
any
on there.
other announcements or are we going for the adjournment?
Can I just say one quick thing, because I want to welcome Jed to the Decky board. He'll be taking over. Super excited about
In
it.
June of 28, Jeff Spot.
He'll be taking over Jeff's spot. Jeff's gonna hang on as needed, probably the next meeting or so, and then, Jed will be filling in. And so, he attended the first meeting yesterday and probably learned a lot, probably zoned out a little bit. But, we're looking forward to having, serve for the Water Street bid as a rep.
We will need that on next month's agenda.
Oh, yeah,
That by
because,
February,
yeah.
Jed's still good with it, it needs to go on the agenda to vote. So that was the one thing at the end.
oh,
of it.
you guys need to vote
We
who
need
it
to
is.
vote
I see.
to-
Sure.
No, yeah, we can't just put Jed on without this board saying that's what we want.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, Jed might be your Water Street rep on Decky.
We talked about it yesterday, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's not on the agenda for tomorrow, it's too late to amend this one, so I said, no worries, I'll come to
We
February
have to
one
discuss it.
as a voting member still,
Do we need to discuss that before we come?
next month.
You'll need an action item to vote on it, but, so if you have a meeting next month, we'll do that. Jake is on the executive team as the vice chair of Decky. He can't specifically serve as the Water Street rep, because he already holds that role. But certainly, can provide updates, if, you're not able to make it or Jeff's not there and it doesn't get approved. But I would put it on your agenda for next month with an action item, and then we should get, unless Joe wants to step in and say he'd rather do it.
I think Jed's the man.
Does he have to fill out some applications and stuff and see if it's qualified?
Not for the,
There's a
Jackie
rigorous
word.
test, but
um,
he's already passed.
We
most
don't-
of
yeah,
them.
and they're professional.
We don't want some timid guy that's gonna be pushed around. by-
Yeah, I mean, Jen was really quiet at the meeting, but it was also at 7:30, so.
It's the military approach. You're quiet for the first 2 or 3 weeks and you take it all in and then we say, hey, let's get some, I named the donuts on the way down here. Let's get stuff done donuts, because time is the most
And this
expensive
is
thing
what I
we
can't
have.
wait to pull this amazing creativity from this gentleman
Let's get
for our
some stuff
board.
So just one announcement from me, if you guys aren't aware, City Hall hours changed this week. Monday it's 7:30 to 6 PM to try and be open earlier, later for people who can't make it during the 8 to 5 timeframe. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will be 7:30 to 4:30, and Friday City Hall is closed.
Random question. With recording the meetings, are you gonna post those? I'm just thinking about for people that weren't here.
So,
To like listen or
We're-
watch instead of just read your minutes, those are gonna be posted too.
yep, well,
Okay.
they're working on setting them up. We'll be posting them all online. So,
Ooh, is there NIL with that or no?
is there what?
Name,
NIL.
image, likeness.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my hair next time.
Is the city council gonna be on
Trade
the line?
Is city council?
Oh, that work session, is that live streamed?
Yeah, it'll be, as the regular council sessions are, work sessions are recorded and live streamed. It just continues going after the regular council meeting.
Do they do like this, yesterday they had a meeting, is that online too? Are all the city council meetings online?
You mean the appointments committee?
Yeah.
The appointments committee, they don't record their meetings.
I think it's just the council one.
There's a few committees and commissions, that do, and council does.
Then why do we do ours?
It's a choice that we've made.
Is what?
A choice that we've made, one, as I've explained in other
We made,
meetings to help with minutes, because a lot of times you guys are going through stuff and trying to capture everything can be tough. Two, there's a lot of times you guys are saying the city said stuff and city's saying, no, we didn't. You guys now have proof whether it was said or not.
And we have proof that we've never once
And-
violated our
And-
meeting law.
And the other way,
Yeah.
if there are other things that occur, there's proof, transparency. The community keeps saying they want to know more about what's going on and different,
well, that's why I
community
wondered if
things, so
Advocating for things.
the selection
I think you
committee would not be online.
Streamline.
it's an open meeting. Anybody's welcome to come to.
So is this.
But then if we couldn't come, we could see why they didn't select someone or recommend someone.
It-
That'd be important. You take that back to City Hall. Steve, Nick. I want the the meetings for selections and then stuff to be paid.
I will share
I'm
that.
sorry, I'm tired. I'm gonna.
We're all
watch
gonna
9-year-olds. I'm gonna-
You're the coach, one of the coaches.
I am what it's Mike Mahoney's cousin, and I told him when we both were voluntold that we needed to be coaches that I'm gonna let him take the lead. But I'm still there to kind of wrangle the girls. He's very soft spoken, so I have to be like, listen to coach. All right, guys, I gotta go. I'm really sorry.
Well,
Thank you,
there's
everyone.
minutes from last month, feel like, saw how fast you were typing.
I guess we adjourn.
I'm glad this helped.
Aye.
Right.
Great.
Thank you for coming. All right, well, I hope practice goes well, all right?
Billy, I
Thank
have
you.
a new email
We won our
address,
last
so I'll
game,
send that down for you
22 to
check.
20.